Oh, great work, fellas. Always nice to lift an A-League trophy in front of our rivals here at Sky Stadium. I say always, it's the first time we've done it, but brilliant. Alex Paulson's on the phone. You guys enjoyed the celebrations. I'll see if we can put Alex on the speaker. He's probably a bit tired. It's a bit late over in America, isn't it? But let's see how he's going on over at FC Dallas. Alex, did you watch the game?
Boss, is that you? I'm so scared over here.
Alex, what's going on? I've just won the league. What's this about?
The season's about to start and I've been released by FC Dallas.
Hold on, what? They released you after paying £275,000. That doesn't sound right, Alex. Come on. You're pulling my leg, aren't you?
No, boss, I'm serious. I just bought a house and everything.
Oh, God, okay, that's really not good because you're first choice All Whites goalkeeper. Is there any interest in you from other MLS clubs or something, like seeing as you're already over there?
My agent says so, but he said that when I went to Dallas, and I don't trust these American clubs anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's a mess over there, isn't it? Look, I probably shouldn't say this without asking Bill because the financials here still aren't very good at all, but I'll see if we can maybe talk to your agent and bring you back here for next season, okay? Billy's been doing quite well, but I'll see what I can do.
Oh, could you do that, boss? I miss you so much.
Yeah, I'll try my best, mate. And look, even if it doesn't work out, international window's still coming up soon, and you're still my number one for your Whites, okay? Does that calm you down?
Oh, thanks, boss.
Good, okay.
Oh, it's so great.
Thank you, Alex. I'm going to go celebrate winning the league now, okay?
See you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.
Champions, ole, ole, ole.
There's a party in the streets and the city's on fire.
Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 36 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both your Whites and with AFC Auckland. Coming up today we're going to recap how we've picked up the A-League title for a third straight season. Also, we've signed one of our former players very quickly after he left us because of MLS reasons, and also Chris Wood is probably going to play his last two games in an all-whites jersey during the course of today's episode where we take on Honduras and Panama in this international window. So if you're looking forward to all that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated, but first things first, as you can see on screen, we've carried on our form off the back of yesterday's episode where we did pick up the Australian League Cup. If you missed the episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner, but we are 13 points clear of Sydney FC with only 4 games left in the season. They can't catch us, so we are the A-League champions. We've done a good job there, still unbeaten this season, so a chance for us to go through with a near perfect record, just those 6 draws, which kind of sour things a little bit. But still yet to taste defeat this season. Maybe we can keep that going in our last couple of games of the season, albeit it does allow us now with AFC Auckland to focus our attention entirely on the Australian Cup. You can see off the back of yesterday's episode with that win in the League Cup final over the Western Sydney Wanderers. We then played the Central Coast Mariners in the A-League, picked up a 1-0 win there thanks to an early goal to Matthew de Hotman de Villiers at Mount Smart Stadium. To be fair, we definitely deserved this win. As you can see, the Central Coast Mariners with no shots on target. We certainly could have scored a few more goals in this game, but thankfully that one in the first half got the job done. So that was a nice win. Only a few days off the back of that League Cup final, and then a week off the back of that we took on Melbourne City, a team quite high up the table like the Central Coast Mariners were, and picked up a 3-1 win. Went down quite early in this game through Steven Agarkovic, but thankfully Justin Keat grabbed an equaliser not too long off the back of that. Just before halftime we gave away a penalty, but Jamie McLaren's effort was saved in goal by young Billy Debenham, and then late on we went attacking and goals to the Wayne train, and yet again de Hotman de Villiers did mean we picked up 3 points, albeit this time a little bit fortunate to actually pick up a win, as you can tell by the XG in particular, but 2 big wins for us there off the back of that League Cup final against the toughest 2 teams that we've played since yesterday's episode in terms of their league position. Then thumped the Logan Lightning in the 7th round of the Australian Cup 7-1. Hat-trick there to Ben Wayne and a double to both Cameron Pupil as well as our new right winger here and Andre Lupu, who was back from injury for that game. Then took on Western United, who this season are struggling, and picked up a comfortable 3-0 win. First half goal to Fernandez and a double in the second half to the Wayne train. Yet again, playing as a right winger because unfortunately Lupu got injured off the back of that Logan Lightning game, which was very frustrating, and then a bit of a gap till we played the Wellington Phoenix at Sky Stadium and picked up a 1-0 win. This was because of an early Ben Waine penalty, and off the back of this we did hold on and got the trophy lift, which you'll be seeing now. So that was good, quite a nice way to win the A-League title in front of our rival fans here in New Zealand in the Wellington Phoenix. And off the back of that, we've played one more game, actually, the quarterfinals of the Australian Cup, yet again against the Western Sydney Wanderers, but this time very convincing win, a much more flattering scoreline than the League Cup final. We win by 5 goals to 1. It was actually still scoreless at half-time, but in the second half, we really kicked away here with goals to Mercado Fernandez hat-trick, and then off the back of a consolation one to Nick Sullivan, one of our former players. Nick Baker made it 5-1 deep into stoppage time, so a good win for us there in the quarters of the Australian Cup. Of course, it does mean our first team can actually focus on that competition instead of the A-League as we do go in search of the quadruple this season. It's certainly on with that situation already, having the League Cup locked up in terms of the semi-finals of the Australian Cup, because don't need to worry now about the A-League. We take on Adelaide United, and there is the potential of a New Zealand derby in the Australian Cup final. You'd like to think so anyway, because the Wellington Phoenix, they take on Heart of Melbourne. They're a fair way down the pyramid here in Australia. They've done quite well to get that far, but could be on here for a New Zealand derby in the Australian Cup final, and hopefully we'll be able to come back for that in tomorrow's episode and wrap up the 4th season of the save in terms of the club side of things. So everything going quite nicely with AFC Auckland, and especially because we've signed a player going into next season who, to be fair, hasn't actually been away from the club for that long. Alex Paulson will be joining us after FC Dallas released them going into the start of the new MLS season. So that was a really weird transfer that from FC Dallas. They spent £275,000 on him and they didn't play him at all and released him before the start of the season. So he's going to be coming back here to AFC Auckland next season, provided that registration bug is still not an issue. Otherwise, either you have to pause the series for a little bit or see if things are a bit easier for me in the New Zealand National League in terms of registration, but we'll see how that goes. I suppose the positive, if we have to go down to the New Zealand National League, is then we could do some Champions League football through Oceania. We'd still be able to do the New Zealand Builder Nation side of things, but might struggle to get quite as high a profile player in the first couple of years with whichever club we did end up with in the New Zealand League. But hopefully things will sort themselves out here at AFC Auckland and we can continue here and hopefully see how some of our good youngsters do develop and make their way into the All Whites in future years. But Alex Paulson will be making his way back to AFC Auckland next season. A little bit harsh on Billy Debenham, but would have been a bit silly to let that chance go. Pick him back up on a free after getting £275,000 for him only 3 months ago. Silly old MLS transfers. They are definitely still a thing. So that's what's going on in terms of AFC Auckland. As I said, the only real focus now for us is to try and win those 2 games in the Australian Cup and hopefully go through the season undefeated. But today's focus on camera is going to be the All Whites, an international window here where we take on 2 decent teams. Honduras, who are ranked up in 67th, so to be fair, actually slightly below us. We're equal 66 these days with the All Whites, and off the back of that, at the same venue in Mount Smart Stadium, so it does unfortunately mean no need for a bus trip in today's episode. But then we take on Panama, and they are actually ranked up in 60th, so that could be the toughest test of today's episode, but hopefully at home we can pick up some decent results there after those wins late last year over Venezuela as well as Iraq. So hopefully we can keep making our way here up the world rankings and also picking up some wins here, because it could be the last couple of times that you see Chris Wood in a New Zealand jersey and in the safe, because he is retiring on the 29th of June. I do think there's another international window before then, but not too sure if we'll use him. He's not getting any game time at Adana Demirspor, despite the fact he was supposed to be a regular starter. Look at the career stats, and he's only been featuring as a substitute, so he got a bit screwed over there, did Chris Wood. Probably should have accepted our contract offer from AFC Auckland instead, where he still would have been a starter for us. But Chris Wood, he is retiring at the end of the season. 2 friendlies coming up in this window, and he's on 98 caps. You bet your bottom dollar we're going to get him to 100 caps during the course of today's episode. And to be fair, recent form for the All Whites has been superb. Hopefully that continues and he can score a goal in his 100th game and maybe lead us to 2 more wins before he does ride off into the sunset. And also we've picked a new player for the All Whites for this window. I've dropped Ben Old and I am going with Josh Pickering in his place, the youngster that we brought up a couple of episodes ago from the Melbourne victory. We'll give him a cap mainly because need some wingers to come through for when Chris Wood does retire, because George McDonald, he will then go up front and be our starting striker. So it does mean that opens up a wing spot. And this 19-year-old certainly has the potential to make one of those spots his own. Ben Old will probably find his way back into the team for the windows once Big Woodman does retire. But apart from that, it's a pretty easy team to select with the usual suspects in there, albeit a couple of them are only recommended for 45 minutes for this first game. So that's the reason a couple of them are on the bench, in the likes in particular of Nico Koo and also George McDonald, not quite on a red heart. So we'll save him up for the second game where we do take on Panama, but hopefully we can keep up our good form lately in this save with the All Whites and send out Chris Wood on a high, and we'll come back shortly and get stuck in to the first of our friendlies as we take on Honduras. And here are the team sheets for our first friendly in today's episode. In terms of us, just some changes down the right hand side. Nico Koo only recommended for 45 minutes. Cullen Elliott, he is out right, and also with McDonald not quite on a full green heart, the Wayne train will start out right like he has been for AFC Auckland recently, but Honduras, hopefully we can get the better of them and keep rising up those world rankings. And an early highlight here, which might be in our favour, albeit it's a throw in here deep inside of our own half. Kakache finds McCowett, and now Sarpreet Singh back in the team these days after an injury which kept him out of a few windows, but unfortunately loose touchdown. Honduras can make their way forward. Thankfully their uniforms are actually quite blue compared to what I saw before on the match hub. But Cullen Elliott there, 40 won the ball quite nicely from reverse, but apparently that's a penalty. They don't go and check it through VAR, so a chance here for Honduras from the penalty spot early. Hopefully Alex Paulson still quite good at saving these. Oh, what have you done to him, USA? You've absolutely ruined him. And Louis Palmer sends them the wrong way and puts that one in the bottom left corner. Not a good start. We go 1-0 down early. Albeit hopefully a chance for us here to strike back immediately from the kickoff. The highlight starts here and we play it back to Marco Stamanic, albeit that is a really poor pass. Thankfully Sarpreet Singh can get that one back for us, but early on here looking just a little bit sloppy. That penalty given away from Elliott, which to be fair didn't look like it was that clear cut, but the passing so far in this highlight has not been great. But as I say that, we do eventually now look to make our way out from the back. Kakache plays that forward to McCowett, cuts inside. Sarpreet Singh goes back there to Stamanic, who of course played that poor pass before, and that's another one. And the goal scorer in reverse plays that forward to Flores. In fact, I say reverse, he was the guy who earned that penalty, but it is again here Honduras who make their way forward down that right hand side. They square it for Henry Oliver, and we go 2-0 down very early, and this has been a shocking start, especially down our right-hand side. We'll demand more. Cullen Elliott might not last too long in this game, the way that he's going, but Reverse just finds himself on the ball there, squares it, and Oliver gets him behind. Really poor start here at Mount Smart. 2-0 down inside 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And as if the start of this game couldn't get any worse, now Ben Wayne's picked up a red injury. Thankfully, of course, the league is already wrapped up, but still not ideal for our chase of the quadruple. We'll bring on Sloan Rodriguez in his place. Still 2-0 down after only 15 minutes. And just about to make our way into the last 5 minutes of this first half, and finally a highlight here which might be in our favour. Chris Wood there looking for a goal in his 99th cap, but unfortunately that one goes just over the bar. Eventually starting to work our way into this game, but unfortunately for us, it's taken far too long. Albeit late free kick here. Hopefully Tyler Binden can put that one on target. He can't. That also goes over the bar. So far set pieces look like our biggest threat in this game. But 2-0 down. That was a pretty poor first half. Terrible start, the penalty, and also the goal which was scored there by Oliver. And unfortunately from there we never really recovered. Going to make a couple of subs here at halftime. Some players out there really struggling. Anto Bralic can come on for Stamanic. Not doing too badly, but Stamanic is recommended for only 45 minutes. So that's probably a good idea. Hopefully he can then play against Panama. Also, McCowett struggling. Josh Pickering can make a debut at left wing. And also we'll bring on Nico Kerwin for a struggling Cullen Elliott. So quite a few subs used there at halftime this window. 6 subs that are available. So still a few in the second half. We're going to give the guys here a big old rev up and hopefully get a response as we're 2-0 behind at home. And up to the hour mark, I think it's now time for us to make our last couple of substitutions. Joe Bell's still struggling despite the fact we actually moved him to a DLP at half-time, so Michael Cornelius-Beale can come on for him. And also, I think we'll try George McDonald up top for Chris Wood so far, just going fairly. That should mean he can play in his 100th game against Panama. Also, time for us to go a bit more attacking in terms of roles, as we're still 2-0 behind. Could be a loss for us here at home. And just about to make our way into the last 20 minutes of this game, and eventually the first highlight here of the second half, a short kick there as we do look to make our way out from the back. And now Libby Kache will pick out the youngster from AFC Auckland and Michael Cornelius-Beale back on the ball, and Tyler Binden, who is on a yellow card. Hopefully that won't be an issue late on in this game, but to be fair, don't think we need to worry about it too much at 2-0 down. If he gets sent off, we're going to be stuffed anyway. But Brackish plays the ball over the top there. Actually finds McDonald. Decent shot. Takes a deflection. And then comes off the post. And McDonald looking threatening up front, which is quite good when, of course, Chris Wood does retire. But now time for us to go even more attacking. Because with 20 minutes left, still 2 behind. And about to make our way into the last 10 minutes of this game. And as you can see, actually going even more attacking now. And with our centre-backs playing as liberos. The very adventurous. It did work against Poland at the World Cup. Hopefully it will do the same here. But we're leaving it very late. 2-0 down against Honduras. Beale on the ball, plays it back to Tuiloma also these days, going with a higher defensive line. Beale will pick up Kache slightly in behind it, finds its way through to George McDonald. That will make it 2-1. So the Phoenix man scores a goal off of the bench. As I said before, that could be quite useful. Very good replacement there for Chris Wood off the back of the Panama game. But Kache fizzes that one, looking for Sarpreet Singh. Thankfully, the foul is committed, but McDonald can still put that one away. 2-1 as we make our way into the last 5 minutes of this game. A couple of tired boys out there, but all our subs are used. Into injury time stats-wise, definitely coming into this very late. We'll go very attacking in the last couple of seconds, but it's a 2-1 defeat at home. And based on stats, not really too sure how. Just a shocking start in that one. Cullen Elliott giving away an early penalty, which Louis Palmer did put away. And then a couple of minutes later, they grabbed a second. We certainly played a lot better in the second half than we did in the first half, but still suffer a 2-1 defeat despite that late goal to George McDonald. Also an injury to the Wayne train, which is not ideal either. We'll see how serious that is. Might mean that someone like Ben Old makes their way back into the squad for that second game where we do take on Panama. We'll just see how serious that injury is. But unfortunately, we suffer a defeat. And considering that Panama actually ranked above Honduras, that's not ideal, especially because we put out quite a strong team for that one. Ben Wayne out for 2 to 3 weeks. So I do think that Ben Old will be coming in for that Panama game, but hopefully we can bounce back after that 2-1 defeat to Honduras. And we are back with the team sheets for the second friendly from this international window as we take on Panama. Lots of changes because players are still tight, so both centre-backs have been switched. Kelly, Hield and Sermon. Also Beale as the DLP. Justin Keat as the cam. Ben Old back in the squad at right wing. And also McDonald for Chris Wood, who for some reason only recommended for 45 minutes, even though Adana Demaspor aren't playing him, but we'll just bring him off the bench for his 100th cap, and hopefully he can grab a winning goal or help us put the game to bed by that stage as we try and bounce back from that Honduras result. But early stages, and Panama, they have the first highlight here, and it's inside the final third, quite similar where the first highlight from that previous game was. But this time, it's the opposition on the attack. Rodriguez with a shot there, thankfully, goes just over the bar, and it's still 0 early. And going just past the half-hour mark for the next highlight in this game, which is hopefully we're showing it a really weird one at the 15-minute mark. It went a long time, and not a lot happened. A block shot, so not too much going on there. But in this game so far, we've actually been the team on the front foot, but unfortunately, Callum McCowart with a loose touch, and it is here Panama with a chance to get on the attack, but thankfully, they do the same, and Kakache can win that ball back for us. Now, hopefully, we can get something going down this left-hand side. McCowart cuts inside. Nice ball over the top there for George McDonald. Big chance here for the Phoenix lad, but unfortunately, that shot from a bit of a tight angle eventually is saved by the Panama goalkeeper. So still 0-0, but thankfully looking quite threatening in this game now. Finn Sermon gets his heel on the end of that corner, but it goes over the bar on the front foot, but still 0-0. And it looks like that will do it for the first half, so not too many highlights, one decent one in favour of each team. I think our chance was better through George McDonald, but unfortunately still 0-0. As you can see, stats-wise, definitely the team playing the better football in this one, but a couple of players out there just going fairly. Yet again, Cullen Elliott only doing okay. Nico Kerwin can come on from, and also will bring on Marko Stamenic in place of Beal. Better player, recommended for 45 minutes, but that's all do so far. Chris Wood can come on at some stage in the second half, but doing well. Hopefully can kick on, grab a goal, and bounce back with a win against Panama. And 10 minutes into the second half, a couple of players here dropping down to red hearts, and also Libby Kache has picked up a yellow, so I think it's time for us here to ring the changes. First up, Anto Bradic can come on for Joe Bell on a red heart. We'll bring on Adam White for Kakache on that yellow. Ben Old struggling on a 6.4, so George McDonald can go to right wing. That's how Chris Wood will come on, and Sarpreet Singh for Justin Keys on a 6.4. That'll be all our subs used. Still on the front foot, but locked up at nil, and also will chuck McDonald on attack, seeing as he usually is a striker. And not too off the back of those previous substitutions, real shake up here going into the second half. There is a throw in here in our favour. Stamenic off the bench. He is on the ball, looking there for McCout, but that is another poor pass from him. But disappointing so far with him in this window. Some poor passes in that Honduras game, albeit thankfully there's one from our opposition. Now Nico Kua makes his way down the right-hand side. Sing to McDonald. That's a decent chance again in tight space, but that comes off the crossbar. We do earn a corner, but McDonald is looking threatening these days out at right wing, but unfortunately can't quite hit the target in this game. Still 0-0, a corner. No one's on the end of it. Sermon with a volley, but it goes over the bar. 0-0 with just under a half hour left. And just making our way into the last 15 minutes of this game, and Panama on the attack here for the first time in a long time. Still yet to have a shot on target in this game, but that one might have been Alex Paulson. Comes up with a very good save, getting some fitness in him, obviously, as he's not playing club football until the start of next season. Silly old MLS, but thankfully Panama, nothing doing from the subsequent corner. Still 0-0, as you saw there briefly stats-wise. Definitely on the front foot, but hopefully now we can get a goal in the late stages of this game. Otherwise, might have to go a bit more attacking, but we start to make our way down the right-hand side. Nico Kerwin tries a little bit of fancy footwork there, but unfortunately pass forward and we lose out on possession. It might be a chance for Panama to hit us and kind of FM us, albeit the last couple of highlights in this game would have been in their favour, but based on stats, we've definitely been the better team in this game. But Beckman makes his way down that right-hand side, floats this one far post. Diaz with a header, but thankfully just over the crossbar. Still 0-0, but now about to make our way into the last 10 minutes. Might be time to go full on attack and try and win this one at home. And only a couple of minutes off the back of going full out attack. That does mean our centre-backs are now playing as liberos, albeit not too sure if it suits these two as much as the likes of Tui Loma and Bindon, but a little bit messy there, albeit Lucas Cully-Heald should tie this up, albeit that's a poor pass straight into the path of Diaz. Now a chance here for Panama on the counter-attack. He just takes his time here waiting for some teammate support. It finds its way through to Cordoba. Eric Pinto pinches it and puts it past Paulson, and we go 1-0 down late, and this would be a real smash and grab here from Panama. To be fair, last couple of highlights have been in their favour, but Lucas Cully-Heald, who is also actually these days in the MLS at the New England Revolution, he tried to clear it or pass it forward, came off the shins of a Panama player. They make the most of it and now take a 1-0 lead, albeit after we break the boys. Now down the other end for a throw, and White will find Stamenic Bradic with a shot there. Thankfully it falls to Sermon. Now Bradic is back on the ball. Cully-Heald misses out on the ball yet again. Really poor finish from him in this game, albeit that time a good tackle. And Kerwin starts to make his way down the right-hand side, floats that one into the mixer for Chris Wood in his 100th game. He will score a goal, and that could be a big one to get a draw out of this one. It might actually help propel us to a win, hopefully. Can hopefully do something similar here to what we did to Poland at the FIFA World Cup. But Nico Kerwin, lovely ball there, and Chris Wood with a hero in what could be his last game for the All Whites. Unfortunately, it might not be a winning goal unless he scores one in 3 minutes of added time, but unfortunately doesn't look like that'll be the case, albeit now I say that there is a corner in our favour. We go searching for Finn Sermon for some reason. Look for Chris Wood. He's just scored a goal like that, but unfortunately over the bar. It's a 1-1 draw. Definitely a game I felt like there that we could have won, especially based on the stats, but thankfully we don't lose back-to-back games. Certainly, these teams around the 60 mark in the world are a bit more of a match for us than the teams that we've been playing so far in and around us on the world rankings in the save. Apart from the Thailand War Elephants, they were just really well suited to playing us for some reason, but Chris Wood grabs a late goal in his 100th game to pick up a 1-1 draw against Panama. So fair to say that wasn't the best international window for us here with the All Whites, a 2-1 loss to Honduras and then a 1-1 draw against Panama. Both games at Mount Smart as well, was hoping those home fixtures would help us pick up results, but unfortunately kind of left it late to score goals in both those games till we went attacking, but thankfully got something out of that second game. And to be fair, those results haven't hurt our world ranking too much. We've dropped down one place, no longer equals 66. We are now down in 67th, so thankfully that didn't hurt the world ranking too much, but might be starting to find a level with where our current squad is about right in terms of the world ranking. Of course, start of the save, we were down around the 100 mark, certainly a lot better than that, but hopefully in the next window we can beat some of these teams around us and make our way back towards the top 60. But I think that will do it for today's episode. Bit of a funny one with the international window off the back of picking up the A-League title, and also Alex Paulson is making his way back to AFC Auckland. But if you enjoyed the episode with the internationals, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so or really are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. When we come back, it will be, I think, if all things go to plan, to wrap up the season with AFC Auckland. We might come back and do the semi and final of the Australian Cup. If we make it to the final, we'll definitely come back and play Adelaide United, and hopefully might have a New Zealand derby in the final. Otherwise, if we make it that far and the Phoenix don't, that should be pretty easy for us to pick up the quadruple. If we are playing Heart of Melbourne, it could be a New Zealand derby coming up in tomorrow's episode, and also we'll get stuck in to the end of season review, and then to end the week I can see hopefully what the situation is with the whole registration issue we've been dealing with since the winter update came out, and no homegrown players. That could be an issue going into the next season of the save. Hopefully by the time we get that far they might have released a patch, albeit there is a chance we'll have to pause this series for just a little bit or change things up going into next season. Hopefully that's not the case, but early warning, might just see what happens off the back of this season before we do progress any further with this bug that has popped up off the back of the winter update. We'll come back tomorrow and finish the season, hopefully pick up a quadruple here at AFC Auckland by picking up that Australian Cup. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.